I met Ian through my Kundalini yoga teacher, Siri Gyan Singh. And I think I met Ian when his mom passed away, who was a very good friend of Siri Gyan's. I come to the breath work through Siri Gyan Singh Khalsa, who is a Kundalini teacher related by family to Ian. So we did a workshop together this last, I think it was early summer, and Sirigyan was leading a lot of the yoga, and together with Ian, and Ian brought in the music element, which was very powerful. I've been practicing with Sirigyan probably for a decade. Well, I met Sirigyan in 2013, and so that's when I first got introduced to Kundalini and to Reiki and breath work. So on and off over the last 10, 12 years. I think the most powerful thing about the Reiki work is that it gives a person a chance to really get all of the emotion, especially like anger, anything that's held that we normally don't express in regular society. We have an opportunity to breathe and release, like I say, things that I wouldn't normally have the opportunity to express in regular society. So it's incredibly healing for me that way, because I tend to hold a lot of that deepest anger and despair, and so it just gives me an opportunity to clear that stuff out like no other therapy that I've ever been a part of. I had a really, really good experience this last time, and I thought that the teamwork of Ian and Sirigyan was especially powerful and good. I've known Sirigyan for a long time, so I trust him. But Ian and Ian just brought in this quality of support for Sirigyan, and I think deep compassion for trauma and healing, and then of course the beauty of the music. So the combination of the two of them working together was profound, and I had a really great experience with both of them. And in particular, Ian, just he has such a quality of compassion and acceptance, and the drumming and different things that he brought through with the music really gave me a sense of like that little child that maybe did have the trauma, that she got a chance to play, and it to be okay to not know something. In other words, some of the things that I have a hard time with in life, I can practice with the music, or just the opportunity to drum together, or it just gave me such a permission to be with those parts of myself that don't know something really well, or feel like I've got to get it together, and just release and relax that. The combination of the two of them together was outstanding. So I think that's what the music and the part that Ian brought in was, allowed that part of me that is innocent to just be okay to play. And then I think the other thing too is that there's so much permission to allow those parts that in the breath work that have been traumatized, that don't ordinarily get a chance to express, that without shame, and this tenderness and compassion that both those men have, allow such a healing, such a letting go. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced with anybody else, and that's why I wanted to come forward and at least try to articulate my experience. Well, I think that breath work has the potential to go way past, say, talk therapy. And that's what I believe it's so great about it, is that we can try these different talk therapy modalities and everything else, but breath therapy is it has this capacity to kind of short circuit the mind, so that, because that's where I get caught. My mind is so strong that it's going to hold me in all these patterns, and people can talk with me, and they do, until I'm blue in the face. But on a cellular level, not a lot seems to change. But the breath work just kind of bypasses all that mental blocking, all that mental control. That's what it is. That's the word. It bypasses the mind's trying to control everything, and it just gives the body an opportunity to organically release. I feel that true healing is going to come through the body, that it's actually the body's releasing of the stored trauma that's going to allow the mind to relax. Versus traditional therapy, we're trying to get things through the mind, but I feel the other way is far more effective. For somebody who's a beginner too, I just think if one can just lie down and breathe and relax, it isn't a complicated, difficult process. It's very organic, actually, and actually very it can be very, very deeply comforting too. So rather than trying to figure things out here, to just begin that conscious, continuous breath activates the body in such a way that we can then let go. I find it's much harder to let go in my head than in my body. Not to be afraid of it, just to know that it's natural to relax and breathe, and to know that it's by far more powerful, in my estimation, than hours and hours and hours of talking about things. In fact, Sirigion says, it's not his thing to talk therapy is not his thing, because everything will happen once the body is full of oxygen, and the process takes over and clears out so much that I don't think we clear out talking. I happen to love group work, and I think that I can often feel a little safer with other people around me doing the same kind of work. Also, their process can sometimes activate and help me to get going more. I'm kind of a slow starter. I'm a very slow starter because there's all that hanging on with my mind. So when I'm in a group setting and other people are beginning to activate and maybe make sounds and go through their process, it's like it gives me permission to finally let go myself. In this particular workshop, I think both the quality of both those men, Ian and Sirigyan, they combine this wonderful masculinity with this deep sensitivity toward trauma, and yeah, and that's kind of a rare and beautiful combination of a strong masculine presence who's also very comfortable and very compassionate and tender with releasing trauma and giving so much permission and so much beautiful support in a way that never felt threatening. It always felt just so gentle and beautiful, and I think much needed, because probably like a lot of my trauma came at the hands of my much beloved but alcoholic father. So when I am working with a man in a therapeutic capacity where he's able to be very gentle, compassionate, and wonderfully familiar with the releasing of trauma, that's extremely healing. Ian's work with the rhythm and the sound that allowed me to be innocent and to just let my child play rather than worrying if I could do it right. Sirigyan and Ian both, they bring in some humor. That's a lot of fun, but they're also very, very well trained, and everything is safe. everything's incredibly safe and well orchestrated. And I felt safe the whole time with this huge permission to let go and release this trauma that normally I can't even get close to. I did many workshops with Siri Gyon and sometimes with Michelle, Ian's mom, but it really added such a huge dimension to bring in the rhythm and the sounding, and so that we'd do these very intense Reikian sessions and these yoga sessions, but then we would have these times to play. I think that's really key to why this particular workshop was such a success for me. Yeah. I could really use another workshop with them right about now. Yeah, I am left with that warm heart feeling of how well supported I felt. And and that all that compassion and tenderness that they offered and all that skill. So yeah, I love them both. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to share how positively I feel about these guys. That is, it's very important when you find special healing facilitators to be able to speak and let other people know what a rare opportunity it is to do this kind of work, and then with these kind of men. Yes.